I see. If you think Russians prefer vodka to all other drinks, oh, you're so wrong, or you're just so far away from Russia. Beer is what Russians really worship, especially in summertime or when there is some important sporting event going on, like a football match. In fact, at the moment, Russia is catching up with two legendary brewing nations, Germany and England. So it's not surprising that this Moscow Out adventure is about beer venues in the city.
I only drink beer with friends, actually, or sometimes with family, but most of the time with friends, at a party or just at home. But it's always in a nice, relaxed atmosphere, yeah.
Perfect place for me, of course, in a beer garden, in the summertime, under trees, and a very famous place, of course, is Munich.
I'm from Munich, so the nicest way to have beer is, of course, in the Oktoberfest. Of course, the flirting gets more positive with a lot of beer.
Well, I usually drink at the golf club that I belong to, so that's where we'd have beer, because I play a lot of golf.
Well, in Holland it's very usual to do like drinking games with beer. So you have to maybe play a card game or something like that, and then if you lose, you have to drink a beer.
Drinking beer for Russians means they can escape their daily routine for at least 3 to 4 hours and devote themselves to the bar. That means there not only needs to be enough drink in stock, but also enough snacks. Russians can't imagine drinking beer without a proper chaser. Back in the USSR, when there were no bars or pubs as we know them today, banyas, which is Russian for saunas, were a popular place to drink a brew, something which foreigners still struggle to understand. And just like any other beer drinking country, there is one national brand which is synonymous with beer. In Russia, it's Zhigulyovskaya. It means just as much for them as Guinness to the Irish.
Лучше нашего Жигулевского в мире нет.
One of the beer venues in modern Moscow, where you can meet both expats and sports fans, is Liga Pub. You won't miss a single moment of a football match, because there are screens everywhere, even in bathrooms. A stellar cast of sportsmen once visited the pub. Ronaldinho even took off his shirt here. Liga Pub is actually a gastronomic pub, so it's a common thing to see foie gras and oysters on the menu. Unlike other establishments where beer is cooled just before it's poured, here they keep it cold all the time. Streaming from taps are Kilkenny, Heineken, Guinness and Budweiser. Girls sip their cosmopolitans here, and despite what looks like a fly in the milk, the expats don't seem to mind the company.
It's a fantastic sports bar. I come from Canada, and even in Canada I haven't seen a sports bar like this one. We came here to watch Russia beat Canada, unfortunately in the hockey, but it was absolutely fantastic.
It's long been accepted that a little bit of what you fancy does you good. Beer has B vitamins, amino acids, iron. It can help lower blood pressure and it provides you with energy, but it's only when it's freshly brewed and it's served to you straight from the tap. There are a couple of restaurants in Moscow which boast their own microbreweries. Write their names down in case you are coming to the city soon.
One of Russia's foremost breweries is Tinkoff. This nationwide restaurant chain is well known in Russia and has several regular beers on offer. Unfiltered white, gold and dark beers, both filtered and unfiltered platinum beers and a dark wheat beer. In addition to its year-round brews, the brand also produces seasonal beverages. Tinkoff is one of those places in Moscow which began as an exclusively posh venue, but then became appreciated for its beer. People who come to the bar are mostly businessmen whose offices are nearby, as well as the late partygoers. But we give them a thumbs down for the food menu, which is not quite sophisticated enough. And because of its strange fusion of offer, I presume hookahs is not necessarily the right thing to offer at a pub. Perhaps they should go for a wider selection of meat dishes.
They could improve the menu. There are so empty spaces in the menu, they really should improve. Everything, every position we want to order is missed.
The place where you'll surely get goosebumps from the choice is Monks and Nuns. In addition to the duty Belgian beers, many rare brews are served: peach beer, more similar to lemonade, as well as its older brothers, raspberry and cherry ales. The average price for half-a-liter glass is $10, which is a common price for Moscow. The most exciting thing about the pub is that the waiters serving you Le Fin Duvel are dressed as monks and nuns, though in the evenings the atmosphere is more noisy crush than peaceful ancient monastery.
Until recently, Moscow was one of the few places in Europe when there was no ban on drinking beer in public places. But everything's changing, and starting from October this year, it's prohibited to drink alcohol, including beer, on the Moscow subway. But if you still want to feel what it's like to get drunk and sing on the city's public transport, then there is one great option for you. The newly opened beer restaurant Metro, with an appropriate ambiance, is where you're provided with entertainment up to 6 p.m.
The restaurant is a 100% replica of the city's underground. To be in step with officially the most beautiful subway in the world, the owners of Metro Pub decorated it with fret and stained glass. Even the names of subway stations are special: Timmermans, Grolsch, Spaten. The design may be historical, but the prices are very much up to date, something that's hard to avoid in Moscow. The menu is medium average, so among guests are lots of students. You won't meet experts here, but we blame a bad PR for that, because actually the venue is worth a visit.
We managed to recreate the atmosphere of Subway here as well, but thank God it's much more fun here, and you can drink and do whatever you want, and you won't get arrested.
There are things which are made for each other, like cold beer and hot sausages. And don't even dare think there is no place in Moscow to eat proper English sausages. There is. A British guy is running the business, so original quality is guaranteed.
John is probably the best-known sausage man in Moscow. He knows more about beer and what to serve it with than many other chefs in the city. He makes his sausages with estragon, pine nuts, and even plans to cross deer meat with chocolate. Fantastic!
I just was fed up of living in a place that didn't serve anywhere proper sausages, what I understand as being proper, the ones that I grew up with in England. So I thought, well, they can't be that difficult to make. So I did what I always do when I know nothing about something and want to know a lot. I got on the internet. I just surfed around the internet for about 2 weeks, and I bought some books on Amazon.
Reading culinary books from the internet proved effective, and Moscow's picky five-star hotels began placing their first orders. Warren sausages are now finding themselves on the dinner plates in a number of hotels in the city.
I've had the chefs of big hotel groups come to my house to try sausages, and they just come straight out of the oven. He's put his fork into them, chopped off a bit, put it in his mouth, burnt his mouth, going, we'll take them.
To try Johnny's creations, he can order online or head to one of the city's restaurants.
Is it important for you what people drink when they eat your sausages?
Sausages go with anything. I think they go very well with beer, obviously, but a glass of wine and sausages, no problem at all.
The restaurant's owners say that despite trying to promote the prospect of a restaurant/wine bar, Russians' love for beer and sports events outweighs their idea.
If we want to make a trend of the wine restaurant, we're really fighting today the big market of the beer restaurants. The beer culture today is really strong, so we have to be there with a really good beer and with well-balanced wines and really attractive price-wise.
Yet John, who's been living in Russia for 17 years now, says that there is still a long way to go before beer replaces the blood of a Russian man. He says English pubs are still very different from the beer bars of Moscow.
A lot in a pub depends on the guy behind the bar, who's usually the owner. It's his pub, and he attracts people by being the sort of person that he is, you know. In Russia, Russians are different to Brits, very different. So there's not that sort of idea of the owner. Can you imagine the owner standing in his own bar in Moscow? Everyone would think, well, you know, God, the guy must have no money. He has to stand behind his bar. We have a little bit of a different attitude to that.
At Toro Grill you also won't see the owner behind the bar, but the chefs are on view, and so is their food. The restaurant boasts a rare Argentinian grill oven. There are apparently only a dozen of them produced every year. The price for steak, something which has soared into the stratosphere in Moscow, keeps to an average of 20 euros. John Warren is proud that meat restaurants like this one don't produce their own sausages, preferring to order from people like him instead.
It's nice to be a little bit of a, I don't know, maybe it's the wrong word, but a little bit of a celebrity within the expats, you know. A lot of people have maybe never met me, but they've heard of John, the sausage man, and I like that. I think it's cool.
And is it tough to do business here in Moscow?
I don't think doing business here is any more difficult. I would say, actually, if you look at it from one side, you could say it's easier, because this is an entrepreneur's paradise. You can really take any idea. You don't have to think up your own idea. You can take any idea from the West, come here and do it, and make money doing it. So in that respect, I think it was easy. I would never have set up a sausage business in England. Whereas here, it was like, I'm the first person to set up a sausage business. Great.
Obviously, the more beer that is consumed in Moscow, the more prosperous John's business will be. And even if most of the bars in the city are still a far cry from what the Brits might call a pub, there is still some endearing charm in the way Russians drink beer. The only important thing to remember is that moderation is the key. Otherwise, you risk winning the biggest beer belly competition.